Welcome to the Cap Planner podcast, where we dive into the dynamic world of private capital markets. Whether you're new to private market investing or a seasoned professional, this podcast unpacks the latest trends, insights, and opportunities shaping the industry. Featuring expert guests and deep discussions, Cap Planner is your go-to resource for staying informed and inspired. Hello, Jody. Happy Monday.
Hi, Morgan. I know you had a little bit of I don't know if it's a happy Monday for you because you were away at a wedding, and given this strike with the security checkpoints and all of that, it took you a minute, right?
It's not a strike, it's funding. But
Funding, yeah,
that had nothing to do with
that's
the fact
true.
that
It's not a strike.
it was the weather last night. We were in New Orleans over the weekend for a wedding, and there were tornado sirens in St. Louis and some whole storm moving across the Midwest. So getting home yesterday was not an option.
Yeah. Well, I think flying in general right now is a little bit of a pain, but I had this coming back from London where we went out on the runway and then apparently some light related to the braking went off. So they had to bring us back in. And you're glad for it for the safety, but it's really just a total pain in the ass as it relates to your schedule. But this is where
You
you got
know,
to
I
stay
just
calm.
Oh, my in-laws were like, "We could have gotten a van and, we could have driven the 10 hours." I was like, "I'd rather fly private." Like, why isn't that an option? Why am I going the slower, longer way? I wanna go
Say
get
it.
on the
Spend
tarmac. I
to
wanna
fly private sometime. Yeah.
Yeah, I know I was like a fucking bus. No, thank you. You think my pregnant ass is sitting on a bus? I was like, "I'm not getting on a
All right. Well,
stupid fucking bus."
in
No.
line with our guest today,
Yes.
I want to talk about all these women relationships and the business side of it because I know it comes up. We've been listening to a lot of podcasts, and the women are always talking about, and the men, how they know each other from different iterations. But I feel like you and I have, while we have different approaches, I do like the fact that we have conversations with pretty much anybody and everybody. I mean, when I was on the plane, right, the guy next to me, we're sort of, and this is on the British Airways. I was coming back from London, and one faces forward and one faces backwards. So you're pretty much like right next to in a yin yang environment. And so I talked to the guy next to me. And of course, we've already connected on LinkedIn, and you just never know where business goes. I feel like you really have to talk to everybody today.
It's a relationship business. It really comes down to who you know. I mean, that's partly why LinkedIn has been so successful because it highlights people that you have in common. And you have
Right.
people in common from different companies that you've worked at. And I really think about this a lot because I like the Goop podcast. And I know you do too. And we listen to episodes back and forth.
I think that
But
what I like about it is that Gwyneth Paltrow talks like we're talking, like she has so many different lanes, and the way that she speaks to people, obviously it's very personal, or she, has some experience and she lends it, which is what I really love.
Right, but she had on, Emma Grede, who's an extremely successful British businesswoman, we'll stick on the British train, and
Right.
really,
Good.
Emma Grede talks about, coming into the office, and she's like, "I don't" like, basically, "If you don't wanna work and you don't wanna work hard, then don't come work for me, but
Yeah.
I'm looking for people who are driven, I'm looking for people who wanna have relationships, like, I'm the type of executive where I'm going to come up to your desk and ask you a question. I'm not going to send you an email." And I think it's something even I've struggled with a little bit on my own end because I don't go into an office. So there's been such an emphasis on in-person events and making sure to go when there's an opportunity to go and see clients, especially through speaking engagements, that I have a high value on that.
I also think that you do have a high value on that because you are personal. You keep your private life personal. Me, I'll tell anybody anything. I'll tell anybody everything, actually. And within 5 to 10 seconds, there can be a lot of connection. And people always marvel at how much people tell me. And I think it's because they know that I'm willing to talk.
Yeah.
And this is like the story that my mom, Grammy, told me the other day that she was talking to my aunt, my dad's sister, and that they were laughing about my grandmother. This is back in Buffalo, and that my aunt had a party. And, this is like Buffalo, 18 years old or whatever, 17 years old. The neighbors called the police because it was really loud. And so the police came, and my dad said that he went into the kitchen because he was scared. The police were there, and my grandmother was making the policeman a martini. And so that is like what I love about, and I have my grandmother's like personality that way, and that she always found something in common with everybody. And it was really fun because she said no two people ever look alike, except for obviously twins, and no two people you ever have the same conversation.
Yeah. And I think it is part of it. It's the human element, right? Like we're really, yes, we are all different people, but we're really all not all that different at the end of the day. Everybody has hardships or one way or another. A lot of people have similar priorities when it comes to their families or their careers. So it just
And
depends
they
on
want
what
connection.
order. Right, exactly. So on the human connection piece, we're going to go off
Yeah.
this. Um, you already share how you know Christine, but Christine Leong Connors co founded Verita to deliver strategic values driven wealth advice to founders, entrepreneurs, and executives built on decades of experience advising clients through wealth creation. She most recently served as president and partner at Epic Capital Group, a multifamily office, where she led the firm's growth from 2.5 to 5.5 billion in AUM and guided sale to IEQ Capital. Christine also spent 2 decades at JP Morgan, where she advised some of the most prominent founders and executives in Silicon Valley as head of the Northern California Private Bank. Hi, Christine. Welcome to the Kaplander podcast.
Hello, Morgan and Jody. I'm so excited to be a part of this with you.
My God, Christine, how many years have we been in this together? I think we're at like 25 or some ridiculous number.
I think we are somewhere between 20 and 25.
Let me back this up just a second for everyone who's listening. So, Christine and I go back from our days in San Francisco when we were really sort of witnessing the gogo.com. And Christine has always been in some version of, I would say, private banking or investment banking or wealth management. I know you from your illustrious career starting at JP Morgan. And now today you'll fill us in on sort of where you are. But you have had one of the most amazing careers that has also been followed by I've watched your personal life. I've been to your wedding. I haven't seen your physical children being born, but I've been at the hospital within hours of seeing a new child. And I know you have teenagers now. So a lot has happened, but maybe fill us in on where you are today and then back up the truck a little bit and give us perspective.
Great. Well, today I am the co founder and CEO of Verita Strategic Wealth Partners. Our website is Verita Wealth, and we are a multifamily office investment firm. I co founded it with my partner, Kelly Coffey, who was recently the CEO of City National Bank. But we know each other from when she was the CEO of JP Morgan's private bank. From 2012. And I remember vividly back then when she asked me to run Northern California, which was when I took over running the business in Northern California for JP Morgan's private bank and worked really closely with her and have always admired her and the way she builds culture, the way she engages with clients. And so when I sold Epic Capital Group, which is where I was previously from 2021 to 2020, end of 2024, early 2025. I decided to branch out on my own, and Kelly was retiring from City National Bank, and the two of us, she's not retiring because she's so young,
Yeah.
decided to start our own. So anyway, we are a multifamily office investment firm. We built Verita Strategic Wealth Partners. It was really born out of this idea of providing clients what truly is missing in the market or what we believe around strategy, clarity, and legacy. And we can dive into that at any point, but that is
Yeah.
where I am now.
I
I'm
was
here
going
in
to
San Francisco.
So, for somebody who doesn't know or who's newer to private markets and they are like, well, what is a multifamily office or what you do in layman terms?
Yes. So we are completely independent. We are not associated with any bank or brokerage firm. We are registered with the SEC and we're legally a fiduciary. And our role is to really help clients think about everything, including investments, but beyond. So
And your clients
what
are
is
the
the beyond?
family offices, or who are your clients? Who comes to
No,
you?
our clients are individuals. And we have a model where we can co source your family office. So we can be your full family office, and I can dive into that. We can be a piece of what you want. for your family office, you might want to have one or two people working for you, and then you can co-source.
All around family office. So, individual, it could be a CEO, it could be someone who is in the venture space, it could be someone who owns a
Yep.
company or
It
just
can also
someone.
be family offices. We work with family offices, but they might want to not build their own full family office, and they might want to outsource aspects of it. So we can come in and we say we do everything inclusive of investments and beyond. So investments, thinking about what your plan is, building the right framework for asset allocation. We always say asset location is equally as important. We do a ton on the tax strategies, both estate planning, but also income and capital gains. And we do all the family office. So think of it from everything from household financial management all the way through to should you buy, should you lease aircraft? How do you structure your family office? How do you think about the different aspects? We kind of joke that we'll do everything except walk the dog, but we will truly help you through our network and our
I want to
resources.
bring up whether I should buy or lease an aircraft. How about you, Morgan? That sounds like a good
It's
problem to
pretty
have.
fun.
Right. That's a conversation I'd like to be having. I told Jody this morning we were on the phone talking. I mean, we talk, I think, like 15 times a day. And one of my biggest pain points has always been like, you have to put out what you want back, like speak positively in the way of like, this is going to happen or whatever way you want things to be going. And so I shared
Right.
with Jody, but I was like, it's not a matter of if you rent an airplane, it's a matter of when you
When?
rent an
When?
airplane. Right.
When?
Yeah, I
But
mean,
it is
listen,
so much. I mean, you think about all of these different decision points along the way, and whether it's truly that airplane, when,
Right.
or it's how do I think about the college admissions for my children? How do I think about raising children with affluence? How do I think about kind of the next generation legacy philanthropy? I don't know if you've read that amazing book, The Five Types of Wealth, but really kind of everyone is wanting more. Everyone really wants this ability to curate community and conversations around various topics that are important to them. And that is what we've set out to do. And we have a lot of experience as compensation, thinking through structuring your business. Kelly used to be an investment banker, spent a ton of time on the investment banking side. So we can really cross kind of the broad spectrum across your business and your personal. And the best part is you can grow with us, right? So not every client needs the full
not
family
everybody has
office
to figure
initially,
it
but they
out.
want and are all yearning for clarity and a strategy, right? And clarity
Right.
is how do I see everything in one place? Everybody
Right.
has everything everywhere, whether it's 529s, whether it's IRAs, whether it's private investments that have been made all along the way. eh, All of my executive compensation, it lives in different systems. And there is no
And
one
you're
clear
bringing it
picture.
all
And how do you
together.
develop, yeah, like how do you develop a strategy or a plan if you can't see everything in one place?
Well,
Right.
the wealth piece of it is such a different piece now. And I think, especially, I mean, I personally see a lot of videos on social media talking about here's what to do, like the second you have a social security number for your kid. And here are things to do to minimize tax and maximize the wealth, which is really
You
where
stole that one from me, which I stole from Christine, but
Right.
I did steal
minimum,
that. It
yeah.
was a good one to
It's
steal.
flattery.
But
I'm
I,
flattered.
Yeah,
but I
we
think
have the world according to Christine, maximize wealth and minimize the tax.
right. And that's really where so obviously you've had this illustrious career and it's really the part 2 or part 3 or whatever chapter it is now. It's a whole new beginning of taking everything you've learned along the way and curating it into one
Yep.
company that has a very elite offering for clients. What did you see along the way that made you think that this was missing to really go from being a running JP Morgan Private Bank for Northern California to want to pivoting and really having your own company? Like, what are things you saw along the way that were missing?
So what you're seeing in our industry is there's a lot of consolidation, there's a lot of growth, but there's very little evolution around getting better. Clients, what we are seeing is that clients are wanting more, right? They're seeing this incredible pace of AI and technology within the fintech space. And all of these legacy firms, any firm that has any number of years and a large number of clients is saddled with legacy tech. They're saddled with data issues and the quality of the data. And really, we saw this inflection point, this moment in time where we can provide clients with what they want. by using the new technology and going back to kind of this like first principles of technology and really sitting down and saying, okay, what should our offering look like so that we can scale in the right way and provide clients with the best experience, but also advisors, right? Data
Right.
and information lives across many, many, many systems, and it always will. So, how do you pull all that together in a very seamless way that's easy for advisors? And I think I wear both those hats, right? I've always advised clients, and that is why I get out of bed every day. And I have also, for many, many years and decades, run businesses. So the
Yeah.
ability to
Well,
do
I
both, where
remember
I can like shape the business for what I see the client wanting.
at JP Morgan when you were first managing clients and then you moved into management. And I remember having those discussions with you because it changed the dynamic of what you were doing every day. And it seems like now this has sort of come full circle for you that you're getting to
Totally.
do both. Yeah. And I
Yes.
feel like for you, you never really wanted to have to give it up, but there was more formality in a large organization. And then, like
Yes.
you said, you went to another in between JP Morgan and where you are now, and then that business was sold, and it sort of gave you a chance to do that look over your shoulder. Like, I always think of all the country songs, like, you can look back, but you don't actually go back. And I
Yep.
know that I'm sure everybody was pursuing you, but you took a leap of faith. And of course, Kelly being such a rock star, and the two of you having
Yeah.
had such a, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, and this is like just any friendship or relationship, you had a shared mindset at one point
Yep.
because you were both in the same type of organization, and
Yep.
that counts for something because you were not on a steep learning curve together. And I feel like that's a good way, even though you had different experiences or you may think a little differently, but your training was really formidable and it was in the same type of in the
Yes.
same organization.
And I
Truly.
also believe the timing is right, right? I think as we get older, we suddenly turn all of our knowledge over those years and decades into wisdom. And the wisdom is really what drives our ability to build Verita in this incredible way. It's that pattern recognition over and over again. It's the wisdom that we bring collectively together to say, okay, we've just issue spotted. And now how do we solve that in the most efficient and effective way? And then you
Right.
combine that with our network, right? Our clients have access to our network, and our network leads to really interesting investments. Our network leads to really interesting connections, and clients also want that piece of it. So I think it's the
Yeah.
combination of all of it. But I had a client the other day say, this is the most clear I've ever seen a report, and I've never seen all of my information in one place in such a clear way that enables me to then feel comfortable making decisions and to
Right.
build that strategy.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So obviously we know you outside of just the professional realm, which is on the personal side of it, and you do have a family piece of it, but then you're also, I mean, I think it's still, I could never get up at 5 a.m. and exercise, which I know that you do. So what is your mindset and how do you juggle being a CEO and having daughters, teenage daughters nonetheless, and then also having a long-term marriage and then also carving out time for yourself as Christine separate of the other roles?
And I'll also add to that, on the board of the San Francisco Ballet and involved with your parents heavily. So you're the sandwich generation because I know your mom and dad are very important to you. And of course, your mother makes the best dumplings in town and egg rolls. But
She
I really,
does.
on Chinese New Year, I was like, what I wouldn't do to be at Christine's house raising them with all the stuff your mother makes. But yeah, you've got a full roster.
A full roster, I think it's important. I think I'm also on the board of the College of Management for my alma mater, Bucknell. And then I also sit on the board of my kids' school. And I just think it's incredibly important to give back to the community and to find the time to do that. I think it's incredibly important to find that, everyone kind of questions what is balance and what does that mean, but being present where you are, when you are, and with
Yeah.
what you're doing. And, my kids are definitely fresh. I have a freshman in high school. I remember when you were a freshman in high school, Morgan. And I have a seventh grader, and they're incredibly capable, yet they still need me and want me, but in different ways than when they were little. I think that every parent is still struggling with the social media piece and the technology piece, and that's probably become the new norm. But I for my own mental health, I got up this morning as well. I listened to the Caplander podcast in the morning on my little treadmill or my stairmill.
What did she
And
listen to?
it is just that is my time. I don't look at any emails. I don't check anything before I get up. I get up and go. And
Right.
then, and everyone, knows, unless you really need me until 6:45, I'm kind of on
Your
it's my
time.
time. It's my time.
Yeah.
And then I manage the rest of the day as I need to, depending on how and when and where the kids need me and when my husband needs me. And it is not
Right.
easy. It is certainly bigger problems, bigger kids. Is that what they say? Bigger kids, bigger problems. But
Little problem.
it's fun, right? And going
Yeah.
in with that mindset, I think Morgan, you said it right, is I get to do it. Is it every day super fun? No, but it is
Yeah.
what we get to do. And I'm blessed in that I love my job. I love who I get to do it
Also,
with. And then I love my fam.
you're not scared and you're not under pressure because through
Right.
both of our careers, especially when we were younger in our careers, there were times where there was a lot of pressure. And the
Yep.
pressure was coming from people and places that we could not.
Yep.
It was a landmine walk and you didn't know where things were going to blow up. And at least now, and I can appreciate this being an entrepreneur, and Morgan, pretty much you too, because we were just doing our taxes for last year. I was talking to the accountant, and this is the first year Morgan has been an equity holder in the business. And so her compensation buckets are changing around
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
right? Because now her
Yeah.
distribution, other things. And
Yep.
in some
Yep.
ways, it's a
Exactly.
trickier, but in other ways, it's very empowering
Fun.
because even if you, for some reason, make less money or you have to put things on hold, at least you're in charge, which I know
Yep.
you waited a long time to have this moment.
Yeah. And also, I think in charge of building culture and building this I mean, we have this amazing team of 9 people already. We just started this summer. And they all have their domain expertise, yet they all roll their sleeves up and they're incredible with clients. They're
Yeah.
incredible with each other. And I think the really fun part, though, is seeing new technology, seeing new ideas, seeing innovative opportunities, and being able to bring it to our clients and bring it to Verita is the really exciting part. I mean, we're doing a lot on the spectrum of tax planning and strategies there around
Yeah.
your compensation. And we always say, what do you own and how do you own it? And then thinking about kind of that offset, and really just helping clients navigate all of the different choices that exist. For me, has always been something that I've been passionate about. And I think the same holds true for, if you're going to join boards, you have to be incredibly passionate about what you're doing because it takes away. Like the one thing all three of us have in common, than everybody else sitting next to us, and even the stranger across the way, is that we all have the same amount of time, period.
Correct.
So it's how do we decide how to use that time and how do we
Right.
do it in a
I
way
wake
that
up
is
at
so
5:30 in the
fulfilling,
morning. I think you
right?
have more time because I sleep I need
Jody
like
is
9
not
Well,
a
you have
morning
24
person.
hours in your day. It's just how you cut it up.
I
No.
only am awake for so many of those hours. So, Morgan, you better
Literally.
buckle up because as soon as you have that baby, those number of
I
hours are
wait for
gonna
that baby. I can't wait for that baby.
Yeah,
Yes.
seriously, you and me both. It's interesting. I ducked out today from my home office and I swam during lunch and I thought to myself, I am going to be really, really, really hard pressed to do this come end of July or early August. Like this is going to be a really different ball game. And then like what you say, but you're like, but I get to do that. Like it's a privilege because I've wanted to
Yeah.
have the family. So yes, it's going to be different and how I manage my time will be different.
Right.
But everybody really says the same thing that when you do become a parent, and how you're very precise and there's really that you just all that fluff goes away in terms of the things you did in between
Yeah.
where you were like, I don't have time for that anymore.
Yeah.
For somebody who is new to the financial planning world and somebody who is like, okay, I have wealth of some kind, or I'm working on a company that, God willing, is going to have wealth at some time. Is there any blanket advice that you could tell somebody who is in the private market world who's looking to manage their wealth and minimize the taxes in some way?
Well, a couple things. I think first is make sure, and you guys say this all the time, right? I listened to your one on QSBS. I mean, you have to take care of you. No one else is taking care of you. The board's not taking care of you. The investors are not taking care of you. You have to know what you own and take care of yourself. Align yourself with the right advisors and the right team early on. And then I think, I think we get into this trap of trying to time the markets, trying to figure out like when to pull out and what's going to happen. And really, the biggest deterrent to your wealth is actually your spending.
Yeah.
And being a long-term investor
Jody's
is the most
mortified.
important,
I'm
right?
so
But like,
guilty of this.
but you know, it's like
I'm
you pick and
so
choose
sick
where
of
and how you
guilt.
spend. What you don't want to do is have to pull out of your portfolio when the market is down because you didn't think about the
Hey,
spending needs that you had, right? Because
I haven't
that's
done
when
that.
you lock in the loss and the downturn. And so it's really kind of being smart about that. We're also pretty keen on, you pay for alpha where you really can generate the alpha and the returns, and you low cost tax effect the rest of it, and being smart about those buckets, and then being smart about the tax. The tax piece
Yeah.
plays a big part, and it's not just about returns. And there's some really smart strategies that exist out there where you can actually dial in the ordinary income, it's active income, and capital gains as well in terms of generating offsets. So, there's those three levers. There's the estate tax, there's the income, and there's the gain tax. And just thinking about the different ways that you can do offsets there in the most efficient and smart way. Your accountants know, your advisors know, but make sure you're aligned with the right team who you trust.
Okay, I have a question more on the
Yeah.
personal just or to bring us up to date. So I've watched you through many iterations, like when we would try and figure out on business trips, like where we were going to stay and what we did. And then from there, we would figure out what social made sense. And I think in part, like the ballet was something that we used to do a lot together. And now you have two daughters, and you being a successful mom is sort of like ironic because here I sit with Morgan. So I'm not
Yes.
exactly sure what I did, but something went right, Morgan? Because you're here and you're sitting in a house that you own or that well, you don't own it outright, but it's your house versus
Worked on it.
renting. Yeah. So what's the number one goal you have for your kids as a mom, a successful woman in what we know is a very male dominated business? And how do you see like what do you want for your kids?
Oh gosh. I mean, my number one hope for my girls is that they have self-confidence and self-love because that will take them through anything.
Not so easy, right?
And it's not so easy, right? You have to be able to have that confidence. You have to be able to stand up where it matters. You have to be able to be comfortable using your voice. And that all comes from this ability to self love yourself, have that confidence to dig deep, whether it's navigating a man's world or a woman's world or wherever you are, it doesn't matter. I think that's like the most important for me that I think about often for them.
But how do you do this as a parent, right? I mean, as a mom, sometimes that takes discipline and tough love. And I know that we've all had these
Yeah.
situations where in order to instill confidence, it's not, oh, honey, you're so great and
No,
you can
they've
do
gotta
anything you
fail.
want.
They've gotta feel the
Yeah.
hard times, and it's hard. You don't want them to. Trust me, I'm a control freak. I'm a tiger mom. I would love for them to do everything the exact way I want them to, and trust me, there are days when I'm so tired of hearing myself. But also then the
I
realization
I
that you
use
need
that
to
line
back
all
off
the
of
time.
it.
Do you think I like hearing myself like this?
Totally.
That's a
I actually remember that, Jody. I
uh,
remember I took
I'm
notes along the
exhausted by
way when you were
myself.
raising
I
your
know you
kids.
are, but I'm fatigued as well. You have fatigued me. I'm fatigued. I'm sick of hearing me.
So sick of hearing ourselves talk.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important, and then as I say, like the legacy for them, and I tell my clients this too, right? Is the education is what's going to carry you. And then find your purpose bucket. I always say that to my clients and their kids too, right? Like help them find their purpose bucket before they even realize there's an inherited bucket. Maybe
Right.
there isn't, but what is it that gets them excited? And that evolves all along the way, but as long as they find something at each moment in their lives, that's my
Totally.
hope for them too.
Right. Doing something. And I always think about this where, and we've had a guest on the podcast who really said, because the job market has obviously been more challenging, especially for entry level employees. And a lot of that is you can do a lot of volunteering, you can get creative with your time, but really
Yeah.
finding exactly what you're saying, the purpose of, even if it's not permanent or long
Right.
term, but doing something to see how that fills your bucket. Like it can't
Right.
hurt. Right.
Right.
And so,
And if you find that purpose, you're excited about it, right? And then it doesn't
right.
feel mundane. It doesn't feel boring. And I think it's really interesting because you do worry, right? You think, okay, well, it used to be, I
Oh,
used to
yeah.
joke with all employees when I went way back in the day. I'd say, guess what? You're probably smarter than me. You just graduated from X, Y, Z, but I will outwork you all day long, right?
Right. Right.
And it's
I
kind of a
have this
little
with
bit,
my
it's a little bit like that now today too. If you actually think about it, it's not necessarily like how hard, but if you think about it, like knowledge is now everywhere. So there is no like you're smarter than me because I can go find the answer in 5 seconds on ChatGPT or Claude or wherever else. So now it is, what do you do with that information? How do you
yeah,
create with the content rather than just consume content? Right. And
correct.
really, even for us in our job, right? Like everyone's going to evolve at some point. And we like to say we have last mover advantage, which gives us fast mover advantage because we don't have a legacy, tech stack that we have to navigate through or data issues or even user adoption issues because our whole team's excited to try new technology. But
Yeah.
the reality is everyone has access to all of this. So how do you have that kind of ability to execute and
Right.
move in a faster way, but also in a smarter way, right? This is the whole like knowledge worker, wisdom worker, I think, in terms of where we're going.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like part one, I guess, of one of my last questions for you, which is really what do you see happening next? And really, that does, I mean, money is one piece of it, right? I mean, you said something
Yes.
interesting, which is everybody has 24 hours in a day. And it's really, when you think about it, the most valuable currency we have because it's not unlimited, right?
Exactly.
And I think that's the piece of it where the money obviously is one component, but having more money does not necessarily qualify you to having a big, beautiful, healthy life.
Well, the
So,
No.
health.
right,
Yep.
might be able to you might be able to afford a better doctor, but at the end of the day, it's also like what you say, the community piece, who you surround
Yeah.
yourself with, what your purpose is, how you give back, the types of kids you raise. Like there's so many different ingredients that go
Yep.
into it. But and you also touched on the fact that the market has really changed and everybody has access to all of these
Yeah.
new technologies and resources, but that does not, it is more convenient, but that's not going to make you a driven, motivated person who like is willing to outwork somebody else and put in the time. So, with that all being said, what do you see happening in the market? Obviously, you're in San Francisco, which if anybody who reads any newsletter in the morning, it talks about the AI billboards and all the innovation going on. And there's also talks of a bubble. So, where do you see the market heading now? And kind of what's your take on what's in store for the rest of 2026?
So first on the wealth piece, I think you're incredibly like spot on, right? There is beyond just investments. I encourage everyone to read, and I have no connection to, but I just think it's a fascinating book. Sahil Bloom's Five Types of Wealth, right? And it's time, social, mental, physical, and financial, and really dialing in those pieces. And you're seeing it. You're seeing it with entrepreneurs. You're seeing it, I'm part of this YPO group. Like you're seeing this kind of no, it is okay to go swim in the middle of the day because your mental health is actually more important as a leader of a business.
Right.
Where do I see the market going? I think it's going to be interesting. I do think that 2026 is a year of an unlock. I do think there's going to be these IPOs that are coming out. I think there's going to be we're already seeing a lot of transactions taking place on the M&A side, especially on the healthcare side. I think that there's is there a bubble? It feels that way, but I think it's kind of that normal inflection point of like the companies that are going to win will win and everything else will kind of drop from there. So I think it's an exciting time still nonetheless. I do think kind of the execution is going to be extremely important and critical when everybody has access to that information. I think it still goes back to like, what are we solving for and what companies are truly solving the need and the problem is fundamentally where we're going. I think people should not be scared of it. I think people should embrace AI and technology. I mean, I joke with some business school friends that they're like shocked that I'm leading with technology and so deep in AI and tech now, because when I was in business school many, many, many years ago, like I didn't know how to use technology. It scared me, but you got to get on board
Right.
now. Like it is where we are going and you can be incredibly efficient. And I don't necessarily
Yeah.
think that
From
it's going to be this entire downfall. I just think it's going to be a clean out. And it's important. It's anytime you see that. But I think it's going to be an exciting year. I'm excited for 2026. I think there's going to be a lot of different inflection points. I think, there's a lot of different sectors that we're excited about. So I can't wait to get invited back and we can recap the year, but I think it's going to be a fun ride.
right.
Yes.
When I sit with you like this, there's so many memories that I have of fun things that we've done. but one in particular is when I videotaped you in your kitchen and your 2 daughters at the time had you, like, climbing up to get something, so you would climb from the chair onto the counter, and you were practically on top of the refrigerator, and it really comes full circle because today I took a Pilates class. Morgan, you were here last week, and the girl who's, like, really pregnant basically said, that she's a badass at work, but she knows she's gonna be such a softie at home, and she uses the opposite skill set with her family and her husband and her parents that she does out there to be successful. And it really reminds me of you, Christine, because you learned that, and I think we learned it together, but you finessed it. I learned a lot from you watching you both at work and what a badass you were and baller with all the investments and even just the way you talk. Like Morgan had to shake you down because you talk in a way that's very sophisticated and your knowledge base is really high and you obviously love what you do. But I've also seen you at home like running pickup for the kids and a sick child in the back seat of the car
We do it all,
and
right?
yeah,
But
you
I
do
do
it
think,
all
and
and you
I've
do it
learned from you,
well.
Jody, on that, and I think the ability to be vulnerable, the ability to show up, whether you're a parent or a leader or just a human, right, is to
Yeah,
have that
my
side.
son arrived at your door because he was mad at me and he
Yes.
came to your house.
Yes. But I also remember so many times where you're like, Christine, you have to soften a bit, like you're too tough. And I do. I
Yeah.
think the best leaders in the world, you guys included, are ones that lead from abundance, positivity, pie gets bigger, let's be a net giver. And I think the ones that end up ultimately building harsh cultures and failing at the end are the ones that lead kind of out of that zero sum game. And I
Yeah.
do believe that's how you show up at home. That's how you show up with your friends. That's how you show up with your family, and that's how you build this fulfilling life. And that's what I'm excited to get
Yeah.
to do with Verita. I mean, we're building this. This is Kelly and I joke. We don't golf. I know you do. I play tennis, but this is our back half. Like this is what we want to do forever. The legacy,
Right.
the third pillar of legacy for us is the legacy play for our clients because they've all built a legacy in some way or another with family and philanthropy and community. And for us, we want to build legacy with Verita, but we've also started this company where everybody has equity and everybody will grow this. And we want them to be the ones taking care of our clients' kids down the road. So we're building something different in that way too. And we're super excited about it.
So great. All right. Well, we love having you, and we
So
will follow up.
fun.
I hopefully, yeah, we'll do it. We'll do a repeat issue next year.
Get the gang back together when Morgan's baby in her lap.
Correct.
How many generations will that be? I love it.